Welcome to Selfish Contributors Podcast. I'm your host, Taya Karner, happiness coach and spiritual teacher that is here to challenge your perception of life. I believe divine selfishness is what is needed to live with happiness and peace while contributing to the world in your highest potential. So let's dive in and join me and my guests in the episodes full of inspirational stories, deep spirituality, and unique perspectives of life. Hello everyone! So today we're gonna have fun together in a little different way than usually, but I feel and I sense that I'm gonna do this more often. The reason why is because I have always been extremely passionate about learning the lessons in any kind of ways possible. And one of the way that we can learn lesson or kind of get an idea or get the good advice or the good inspiration is watching the movies. We all love movies, we all love going out and just watching lives of other people. But the thing that I feel it's missing or we are lacking is that we just go and see the movie, but we kind of see it as a separate thing. We see it as, oh, I was watching this life of someone on the movies and it was awesome for those 2 hours, and now I have to go back in my life and back to my problems and back to my situations. So my purpose here is to actually introduce you to seeing the movies differently and getting the lessons out of them. Imagine how fun it is if you can just learn all the lessons from watching the movies. What's better than that? So let's just dive in. For the first episode, I decided to bring you closer the lessons and inspiration that I get from Bohemian Rhapsody. And the first thing that I want to say here is like a little disclaimer that this is not meant to be a review. And I'm also not going to go into details whether this movie is representing the Freddie Mercury story well, or if there is everything that it's capturing is actually what is happening. I don't really care here about what was really happening. I'm not going to go into details because I wasn't there. I wasn't his friend. I don't know what he was going through. And you find all sorts of information online and you never really know what's true. So I don't want to debate here whether the movie was done in a sufficient way, whether the way the script was going was exactly based on their timeline. But whatever we saw there, I just want to take lessons from whatever the movie was. So even if the movie would be like about Freddie Mercury, like imaginary character, it's okay. Like we can still learn from it. This movie specifically, it's very inspirational and very uplifting for anyone that is working as a performer. And what I mean by the word performer is I believe that performer is anyone that is working with crowds, that's working with people. And whenever you are in that role where you have to be a leader, where you have to, take care of your people or entertain them or coach them or like show them your being an artist and show them your creativity, we all have something in common. And I feel like I use a lot of inspiration for my own work, for me being a speaker and a coach, from the musicians and from bands and people that have been very successful in creating their own music. Because anyone that is kind of creating their own unique stuff, it's in some kind of way performer. They're gonna represent this stuff to people. They're gonna show it out. We can all learn a lot of lessons from it. So it's basically this podcast is going to be for anyone working in this kind of environment. So the first thing that we can address is definitely that, like, the first lesson that I got from that whole movie was that people can only give you the advice from their own perspective of life. So if we start in the beginning of the movie where they show Freddie being his family, his father, and how his father was actually against him just going out every night, and he even like said that Freddie is not really thinking about the future, and he's just wasting his future for going out every night. So he was definitely only seeing like what Freddie's action based on his own opinion, and also the whole aspect of Freddie's changing his name is usually, special for a masculine figure in the family, it's a very offensive thing. Like, he was coming kind of from a traditional family, and in the mind of his father is probably going like, you have to behave a certain way, there are certain rules, what will make you successful, what will make you be of benefit for this world. And he didn't see any good in whatever Freddie was doing. And also he was a bit resenting him for changing his name, and kind of like, oh, we are not good for you anymore. Just like really trying to get him to do whatever he feels like it's right for his son. However, this goes very well into the whole principle behind being a selfish contributor, because you can see that Freddie was actually following his heart. He was doing whatever felt right for him. He went out to the nightclubs because that's where people like him was hanging out. He was going there to see someone performing, to see his role models, we can say, performing, and he was visualizing like himself performing. That was pictured very clearly on the movie, and you can see that his whole idea was to go out and to really like just follow this band and know everything about it. He was writing his own songs, and he was like waiting for the perfect moment to approach them and giving them his songs. So he was actually following his heart and doing what felt good for him. However, his father was projecting what he wants from his son to be doing on his son. So his father, in this case, was actually what we call like in the previous podcast, I think we mentioned the nasty selfishness, or we mentioned like a narcissistic way of trying to manipulate others to do whatever you feel it's right for them. But as I was discussing in, I think it was the second episode, that this is only coming from your obsession or self-centeredness when you feel like your own perspective of life is the only perspective that it's right, and you don't allow other people to do whatever they feel like it's right for them because it doesn't go aligned with your own perspective. So you can see clearly here the difference between divine selfishness, as I call it, like the Freddie's selfishness, when he was just following his heart. He didn't care about like his family trying to put him down. He was just doing whatever felt right for him, versus his father that was trying to manipulate his son to doing something else. So I think this is a very nice perspective to see it from a different angle. And the very good thing here is to also recognize that we are always leading by example and not by words. Like his father was trying to give him advice on how to live life, and like, you have to do this and this and this. And Freddie asked him like, oh, how does that work out for you? And it's clearly here like Freddie seeing that his father just created this kind of life for him, and probably he also saw that they were not really happy. They were just living the average life of like traditional families, the way they've been taught that that's the right thing to do, versus Freddie felt that there's something more. So I feel like it's very important here to recognize for ourselves that we want to listen ourselves, and we want to listen people that are actually walking their talk. Someone that gives you the advice that has already whatever you want to have, it's probably much better to listen to them versus to someone that it's not in the same industry than you. It's not like even involved in anything similar than you. And in that case, you can recognize that, we only can see and we only can give the advice from our own perspective. So I always say, people, just follow your heart, do whatever feels right for you. Sometimes that means also like not listening to any advice out there. But I saw with myself that I only want to listen or at least consider the advice from people that are already having what I want to have. So that's the first thing that I got from here. And the second thing is that it's so crucial that you put yourself out there. So Freddie wasn't a guy that was just sitting at home and writing his own songs and just like thinking how he can one day be successful from it. But he went out there and he was surrounding himself with people that are doing the same. And at one point, when he felt that it's right moment, he also approached this band with saying, well, I have my own songs if you might be interested. The way it's pictured here, you can clearly see that the universe, how it works usually, or the higher force or whatever you want to call it, it's that whenever you are doing that leap of faith, so you are willing to just have courage and go into action and approach someone with your own work, that's when the universe will come halfway and it will help you. So it's very crucial here to just like really go out there and just show it out, show your work to someone, approach people. Like, it's so easy like these days when you can just like put it on YouTube, put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram. You have so many social media. You just put it out there. Whatever you're doing, just share it. And you have to take that leap of faith. You have to have courage to just share it, whatever it feels right for you, whatever is your passion, whatever is your creativity. Just put it out there. And as soon as you have the courage, the universe or that higher power will meet you halfway. So in Freddie's case, it was actually like when he decided to take a leap of faith and he approached this band, they actually just lost his lead singer. So he got the opportunity to be a lead singer. So it was like, it felt effortlessly, but the first thing that he needed to do is to do leap of faith. And it's very interesting here because if you look at it from a different perspective, you can see that if that wouldn't happen, so if Freddie wouldn't come to that band, the other guys were kind of like losing faith. And they were like, oh yeah, maybe we're not going anywhere with this. Maybe it's time for us to stop or whatever. So the whole thing is like the universe is always working in the benefits for all the people involved. You cannot really do something and, I don't know, be creative in something and like try to make your dreams come true without considering other people. I mean, it's not that you have to consider them. It's like the universe or the higher force will consider them and everything will happen in a perfect timing. So whenever you are too self-centered and you're just focusing on like, oh, I have to have this now, I have to make success, I have to be big, I have to do that, you don't see that there is like other people that will be involved in that and that the right timing have to come for all those people to be involved. So in this case, Freddie came when the other guy was leaving and when the rest of the team wanted to quit. So it was like a perfect moment for each and every one. So we call this as divine timing, where everything actually happened. So it's very well pictured here. And you can also see that when he was approaching them, they were like making fun of his teeth. But the good lesson from here is that your weaknesses are often your strengths. And you can see in Freddie's case that he was having these issues with the teeth. And like, if you can just imagine, like when he was a little boy going in primary school and like being around those kids, he always had like a significant big like teeth and like it was seen. And I'm 100% sure that he had a lot of people making fun of him, because that's just how kids are, and we kind of don't like anyone being different. But, it's like when he started to sing, he probably realized that, or someone told him that because of that, he has a broader perspective of his voice. So he was like able to create like such a diversity of sounds with his own space that he had in his mouth. So it's so awesome to see here that basically his greatest weaknesses, that maybe a lot of people were making fun of it, was actually his strength. So think about in yourself, like, I feel like there's no mistakes, like there's no coincidences. So if you were born in a certain body and you feel like, oh yeah, I want to change this in my body, and I wish I would have like this, and I wish I would have this, there's no mistakes. And if you just look at your body and just believe that you have a certain mission, or you have a certain like purpose to do in this life, you have a certain I would say passion that like make you feel alive, make you like just sparks your own soul. And if you are following that, I'm sure that you have a body that is like, that has everything that you need to be supported on that mission that is yours. Sometimes we feel like our body should be different, or we often feel like, oh, that's not good, I wish I would have this. But whatever you have is exactly what you need. So use your body and use your vehicle that your soul has as something that is meant to be for you to come to that like purpose, or come to that creativity that you are here to deliver to this world. And we go on with the fourth lesson, which it's kind of like a marketing lesson that I learned here while just watching the movie. It's so crucial to know your audience. And you can see this from a Queen perspective. They were asked why Queen would be successful, or why are you different than other bands. And Freddie said like clearly that they don't belong, and they are the people that got together, and each of them was feeling that they don't belong to this world. And there is tons of people out there that also feel like they don't belong. So we belong to them. And I'm just like having goosebumps when I'm just saying that. And it's so awesome to see that they knew who they are singing to. So they knew that they are like addressing those people that they feel like they don't belong to this world. And it's funny because as soon as you know in your head who are you approaching, who are you like talking to, what is your audience, it's like you have such a higher chances to just be good in your brand, because you are addressing a specific group of people. And usually this comes from like your own issues, your own struggles, like whatever you feel like here in Queen's situation, they felt like they don't belong. So they were addressing this kind of people, like the same group of people. So yeah, it was really awesome perspective to just see that if you know who are you addressing, it's so much easier to actually get to that audience. And this is actually a lesson that I wrote here that we kind of addressed already, which is go out there and the universe will meet you halfway. I think I mentioned this twice already. In the movie, they show that they were selling the van to get the money so they can afford to go out there and record their first album. I heard that in reality it was more of like they just got the option to record the album in the times where the studio was not working, so that it was kind of like given to them, there's option. And it doesn't really matter whether they pay for it or whether they didn't. It's they were following their self. They were like feeling like, I mean, even the Freddie said that we are not thinking big enough. Like they were have to like, you just have to think bigger. And like just thinking about where you're gonna perform next, it's not big enough. It was for him, it was like, we have to make our own album. And when they decided they're gonna make their own album, like they were like working on it, and they were like just, you know, being super creative, and they were collaborating, and you can clearly see that there's been like every single one of them contributing their own part, and together they created those like songs that are total masterpiece. And then there was a right person that saw what they were doing, that invited them for a meeting. It's very interesting here because we see this in a lot of movies, we see this in a lot of stories, that there is one specific person that comes and helps them, and because of that person, then they got successful, or then they managed to get big. So here I would just say like a warning for anyone listening this, that because we saw so many movies around that, and because we know that this is truly happening. It's not like the miracles that are happening once in a lifetime or once in a blue moon, but it's actually something that it's happening daily. Like people that are already successful, people that are already having the power to help you, they are usually the ones that are willing to help you, and they will help you when they see the potential in you. However, the problem is that a lot of people are waiting for that person. They're waiting for a savior. They're waiting for someone that would say, "Oh my God, you are so amazing. Can I give you $1 million and make you big?" You know? And because of that, and I'm guilty for that. I was like, for the first year and a half since I started, I felt I was waiting for that person. Anytime I would go for a big convention, or I would go anywhere where I felt like, oh, there's a lot of people that have a big influence here, I just hope that one of them will recognize the power that I have and just help him be big. And the funny thing is that I've realized that instead of focusing on my creativity and delivering the great material and delivering the unique skills that I have, I was focusing on that person that will save me. And if you are guilty of that, just think about it, like, are you putting enough effort into your work that this is your priority? Like your creativity, your effort that you are putting into whatever you are trying to create is the number one thing that will attract that person. And that person will really comes only because of the law of attraction. It will come because you are ready, because you had the courage to go into action. You had the courage to put yourself out there. You had the courage to actually expose your work. And it's not gonna just fall from a sky. It's not gonna be like you playing small and thinking like, yeah, when I'm gonna have a studio, or when I'm gonna have the camera to record myself, or when I'm gonna have this and this and this, I'll finally start creating my own material. That's no go. Like, you shouldn't wait. There is nothing to wait for. And this thing won't just happen to you if you are indoor, not doing anything, and just like thinking about who's gonna save you. So the first crucial part is go out there, go all out, like just step up and just do max that you can with your creativity, with putting yourself out there, so that you have more chances to be like, to attract those kind of people that can actually help you. But don't wait for them. Don't have in your head that there's gonna come one person that's gonna save you. There's no savior out there. You are the one that's gonna save you. You're gonna like grow to that level where you will feel like you're saved, and that's where you're gonna attract someone that is just gonna add a little bit on top, like a cherry on the top of the cake. But don't wait for them. It's totally up to you. So let's go on. When we go through the movie and we see the whole aspects of them creating the music, you can totally see that they were loving it, that they were just in such a tremendous joy. And here the crucial part is really to remember that the joy is in the creating. We are not waiting for that result. Like, it's not that end result that it's gonna help us be safe or help us be happy or whatever. It's the creating. And when you actually feel like you are doing something, and that's where you are having this like your self-esteem is growing, you are believing in yourself more, and you are like you are just on the track to be successful in any way you want to be, if you are just creating and just doing this from a space of joy. So let's go on. The number 7 of the lessons that I wrote down here is that you are just unstoppable when you're in your zone. And this is something that you can see whenever Freddie was on stage, or even when he was creating the songs. He was so in the flow, so in zone. Like, there was absolutely no thinking from his side. It was everything that was happening was a total like creativity that just like got him at that point. Like, the way he was moving, the way he was interacting with the audience, the way he was like performing, it came from that like total like feeling of just owning yourself. And here you can totally see that it goes, everything has to do with your state, with your like mindset behind it. And this goes like really well with the whole principles from Tony Robbins about being in the peak state. Because when you are in a peak state, when you're owning yourself, when you have your physiology of your body being totally like powerful, that's when your mind will like shut off. And when you will go on the stage, you will just flow, and you will just do stuff. And in the end, you don't really remember what you were doing or what you were saying. There was just a flowing through you, and that flow gave the ideas, the lyrics, the the movement. And people enjoy this so much. People love to see someone owning their state. People love to see someone that has confidence, not the confidence of being all cocky and just trying to be confident because you are, showing off from the outside, but the inner confidence, that like inner power, when you're owning yourself and you are being in that flow and nothing can disturb you. And even Freddie was saying in the movie, when he was having a discussion with his fiance, that he was actually, whenever he's on the stage and he knows that people are listening, that he has them, that's when he cannot do any mistakes. He can just not sing anything wrong. It's like a total flow and a total just empowerment coming from within, and he just feels that he's unstoppable. And the words that he used here is like, that's exactly the person that I was meant to be. And if you dig deep into yourself, you also have a version of yourself that you know that you are meant to be. You know that you are meant to be a certain powerful person, that it's like, you just know there's impossible to, really put it in words who you are meant to be. But there is a certain person that know that you are meant to be. And whenever that character comes out and you feel empowered and you just put it out there, you just know that this is who you are meant to be, and there's no greater feeling than that. Lesson number 8. Lesson number 8 is about when you are creating something new, something unique, something that you haven't, that the world hasn't seen yet. I have a quote here from John Eliot, and he said, "History shows us that people who end up changing the world are always nuts until they are right, and then they are genius." There is another quote here that I don't know where exactly it's coming from, but I wrote it down one day and I was specifically searching it for this opportunity. And that is, to bring something new into the world means that nobody will be able to appreciate it since it's so new that there are no criteria against which it can be valued. So if I explain this a little bit, it's like when they created Bohemian Rhapsody, it was a total masterpiece. I mean, it still is. I remember when I was very little, I don't know how little, but I was like 8 or 10 or something like this. I remember I heard this song on the radio, and I was listening to it, and I didn't really know a lot about music at that point, but I remember saying it to my mom that I feel like this song is one of the greatest songs ever written. Like, to just see all the different aspects that they put in, and all the different, like, the creativity, and I was just like admiring how many different like genres was actually in that song. And I probably didn't think about it that way when I was so little, but I just remember saying it like, wow, this is really like one of the best songs ever written. It's so diverse and it's just so magnificent. And I feel like that the Bohemian Rhapsody was a pure expression of the soul. It just came out there as something totally unique, and they didn't listen to any rules about music. And here is a very awesome lesson that we can all learn, that when we are changing something, when we are creating something new, it's usually like people don't really like changes. People really don't know. And like in the sentence, you can see that there is no criteria against which it can be valued. So they couldn't compare this Bohemian Rhapsody song to any other songs. So it's like there is no criteria to say whether it's this song a good one or a bad one. And usually in the beginning, there's no one that can really appreciate it, or maybe just a couple of people that are able to appreciate it. But like it's so often we can see that when something new is created, people don't know how to respond. They're like, oh, this is so against the rules, I don't like it. And just they simply don't like it because it's against the rules. It's not because the song is not good, it just doesn't fit anywhere. And I see this because I'm working with artists a lot, and I see that a lot of them, it's like they don't know exactly to put themselves into one genre, and they're like, yeah, but I don't really know if this genre it's what fits me, and I should do a little bit of that. And I'm always saying, like, there has to be an evolution in any area that we are like creating. So even if you just think about it, like there's been so many genres that haven't really existed, like let's say 100 years ago, that started being popular like this century. And you can be 100% sure that in the next like 100 years or even 50 years, there's gonna come new genres that we don't even know that they exist. And why limit yourself and try to fit yourself into one category and just say, oh, this is what like my music is like, when you can have whatever it feels right. It doesn't really matter where it fits. You don't try to label yourself. And the same goes with all the coaches and leaders out there, and like someone that is really, like I don't really feel totally okay with me labeling myself as a coach, because I see my work as being so much more than just coaching. It's a whole, I don't know, I don't have the word for it, but currently I just use the coach because that's the most convenient word that everyone kind of know what you are doing. But deep down in myself, I know that this is not the word that actually represents what I'm doing and what I'm delivering to the world. But it doesn't really matter, because I don't want to be like limited with the labels. Like I will just go whatever feels right, and maybe there's gonna come new labels in 10 years that I will feel, or maybe even before, that I'll feel that they are more suitable for whatever I'm doing. But labels are just names. It's bullshit. You don't really need to know where do you fit in. And yeah, that's exactly when I said this, like it's all about this like feeling of, oh, I need to fit in. I need to know what I'm, what is my genre so that I can fit in. You don't need to fit in. You don't need to fit anywhere. You just have to create from your own space, and that's when you're gonna learn the most. So we're going on with the next lesson, which is the lesson about what happens to majority of people that when they succeed. And the thing is that we are always striving for those extraordinary moments. We are striving for creating a new piece of music, or a new piece of like a new video or a new education, whatever, and you feel like, oh, this is so awesome, I can't wait to put it out there and to get all the significant comments back and just feel so awesome about myself. Or whenever you have a speech, or whenever you are performing, or whenever you are doing something with people, those are extraordinary moments. Those are moments that, yes, they are scary, they're like, you're a bit, have a bit of adrenaline, and then you get the rush of like appreciation back, and then you feel euphoria. So this is the extraordinary moments that kind of are awesome, and we all need them and we all love them. However, life is mainly combination of ordinary moments. It's mainly a combination of moments that when we don't do anything specific, when we like sleeping, waking up, brushing our teeth, eating, and in those ordinary moments, the real happiness actually comes from you owning how you live the ordinary moments. It's not the extraordinary moments, because the extraordinary moments will always like fill you up with adrenaline, and you can totally get addicted to that. And usually people that are not okay with dealing with these ordinary moments are people that tend to go into drugs, tend to go into alcohol, and or just find any kind of external way to cope with that condition of not feeling fulfilled when they're by themselves. And you can see this really well in like Freddie's case, when he was just feeling like there's something missing and just trying to fill the gap. And it's very interesting to see the whole like perspective of his life, and just to see what he was going through, and also to recognize that, like getting successful and having everything you ever desired, it's not gonna fill the cup. It's not gonna make you feel extraordinary about yourself. It will just like, it will fill you up for a certain period, and then you will get bored, or you will try to fill the other stuff in. So that's when you can clearly see in like Freddie's life, when he moved into his own house, and he was just like, oh, let's throw a party because there's nothing else that I need to do. And he just became that like, kind of like a self-centered person, where he just felt like he's the center of this world, and that everyone has to behave the way that he wants them to behave. So that's where his ego really kicked in, and that's when we see the other part of Freddie Mercury. And it's like, it's totally normal. It's like happening to every single one of us. When the ego is kind of like getting in control, that's where we are becoming that like strange character of like playing a victim, and just trying to boss everyone around us, and just acting like, we don't really care about other people. It's just and that's when, because he didn't find any fulfillment in whatever he was doing, he was so used to having the concert, having the same stuff all over, that he chose to go and do the music by himself. And he believed that that's what's gonna save him. However, we can clearly see that all he needed was a contrast. And he was like, when he went on his own career, and he started recording his own album, there's a lot of people that will say, yeah, that he was totally acting from his, self-centeredness, and that he was actually, doing a mistake for the Queen or whatever. But the way I see it, it's like he was still following his heart. He was still, there was a desire within him that he wanted to try do this by himself. And maybe it came from the self-centeredness, maybe it came from an ego. However, if that wouldn't happen, he would never come to the realization that he came. He needed the contrast. He needed to see how it is when you don't have people around you that you can trust. He was surrounded with that guy, Paul, that was actually just, being around him because he had all the the luxury, and he was just manipulating him. But he didn't see that, and whenever people around him was telling him, oh, you're doing a mistake, or you should act differently, Freddie just didn't see it. And that's very important to know, that we can only learn from our own perspective, and sometimes we just shouldn't, or we couldn't listen to people that are trying to talk us out of something that we put our mind to. And maybe that decision is kind of a mistake from the outer perspective, but it's actually not. It's a necessary mistake that we need to do in order to come to the certain realization. Why? Because we live in a world of contrast, and we learn everything through contrast. And if there is no contrast in our life, we just cannot know what we have. So he couldn't be grateful, and he couldn't appreciate his band and the people that he had around him, because he didn't have contract for so long, and he was just so used to it, and it was a routine, and he didn't see it. And that's why he needed to go by himself. He needed to go just be in drugs for so long, trying to make his own album, trying to get other people to play with him, and everyone was just doing whatever he said them to do. And he wasn't satisfied with that, because he realized that in Queen, the main thing that they had is that they were collaborating. They were each contributing their own part, and they were changing it, and they were together making it the masterpiece. So it's just so beautiful to see the way it all shaped, and the way his realization changed once he went to actually went through this experience that he needed by himself. And the crucial part here is to also remember that we're all going through the same emotional process. Everyone wants to, in our heart, we are kind of feeling like, oh, when we're gonna be successful, when we're gonna have a lot of concerts, when we're gonna have a lot of speaking gigs or whatever you are into, we're gonna be successful, or we gonna feel fulfilled, or we're gonna have this happiness that we desire, or whatever. But the thing is that no one from the outside can make you happy. And yes, you have to pursue your goals, you have to go towards them, but in the meantime, you also need to fill up your cup every single day by yourself. Not from the external stuff, but trying to make sure that every single day you're feeling okay in the ordinary moments as well. Because if you're not doing that, you will reach a certain point when you will feel like, oh, I have everything I ever desired and I don't feel happy. What's lacking? And what's lacking is within you. It's nothing from the outside. So it's the easiest way to get in, or the easiest way to get happy is just to get in. But yeah, everyone has to come to that realization, and everyone is coming to that realization in their own pace, on their own path. So the crucial part is to recognize that even if you had come to this realization already and someone around you haven't, don't try to give them advice and to try to make them see what they're doing. Just let them do the mistake. Let them figure their life by themselves. If that means that they will leave you, or that they will just go out of your life for a while, that's okay. You just let them leave. Let them do whatever they feel like it's right for them. The whole conclusion will come eventually. And maybe this person will never really come to the realization that, oh, wait a second, you were actually a very good friend, and they will just have a different friends in their life, and that's okay as well. You just want people that are in your same pace as you, or I should say that at least they have the same values as you. And if they don't, and you have to let them leave, that's okay as well. We're all having more than enough people on this planet to find our own squad. So no worries around that. Okay, this movie is long, or I'm just finding too many lessons in it. But anyway, I just enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Aspect that I didn't address yet, and it's crucial in this movie, is relationships. Obviously, Freddie Mercury was gay, and there was a huge denial within him that that's the case. So in relationships, I'm always teaching about the importance of catching and releasing. So every single one of us has lessons of catching and releasing throughout all our life. So it's not just like the teenager years when we are experiencing that, but it's actually going, even when we find our ideal partner and we are with them, we still are learning these lessons of catching and releasing. What do I mean with that? Is that universe will always throw people in your life, and it will throw the opportunities and the relationships or the situations where you will be asked to catch. So in like Freddie's case, when he was first going with first seeing Mary, and then they, he was like really having feelings towards her. He got that opportunity, and actually they like had a relationship out of it. So that was when he was having the successful catch, I would say. And then there was a point when he started recognizing that there's a lot of guys that's actually been like, that he kind of felt pulled towards them, and they also felt the connection with him. However, he was not ready to catch this. He was not ready to release Mary, and he was not ready to catch the other aspect of like, hey, maybe I'm gay. So he's been processing this for a long time. And the funny thing is that whenever something like this happens in our life, like the other person will know. That's 1 + 1. Like another person that we are in a relationship with will know when there is like our thoughts are coming to the, oh my God, I think I should release this relationship that I have. So he was very afraid to release. And especially because of like, probably, it's like, oh, she's mine. She's like my love of my life or whatever. And it's usually very hard to release. But if we don't release, whenever we feel that something is not a match for us, 2 people are suffering. Always. And in our head, we're always thinking like, oh, I shouldn't like release this person because this person will be hurt. But in reality, if you don't, that's when both of you are hurting. So fortunately, Mary realized and decided to talk about it. And that's when they had to like, release, or they were actually going a little bit separate ways. But you can clearly see here the principles of unconditional love, because even though they were, they weren't together anymore, and they were not really, material for being a part in like partnership, they were both still loving each other, and they were both still supporting each other. So it's very beautiful to see that kind of connections. And this is what I mean about unconditional love. It's not that you have to be with that person for the rest of your life. It's just like, oh, even though you split, or even though you go separate ways, you still have love for that person, and you still are willing to support them. So in other case, he was very afraid to catch that idea of him liking guys. And of course, we have to understand that like back then that wasn't such an open thing. And to be honest, actually, in Slovenia, this is still a very controversial topic, and still a thing that I see that a lot of people are not really okay with addressing. And it makes me sad, because it's not, I don't think that it's your choice that you choose who you are attracted to. I don't think it's like that is something that you're just like, oh, I want to go against the rules and just be attracted to girls. It's not like that. It's like whether you're gay or you're not. And if you are gay, that's totally okay. You were just born with that, and you just have to embrace your authenticity and just go with it. And I feel like you can see clearly in like life of Freddie that when he was in denial and he didn't want to say it out loud, and he didn't want to really, tell the people that he's gay, even when it was obvious, he was really suffering. And if you are not willing to address your true identity or address like who you really are. Like a relationship is a huge part of your life, and if you're not really willing to say out loud who do you like, whether you're gay or not, it's like, I mean, you are just meant to live in life, and you always have to hide something, and you always have to feel that you have to act like a certain way, like you have to act like a certain person. And why is that for? Like, the good thing from this movie is also to see that when there was a clip from the media, when they were just asking a bunch of questions and there was interviews and everything, you can totally see that people will always see what they want to see. They will always find drama. They will always find mistakes in you. They will always try to push you down. Like, that's like the media itself. It's like they are feeding their self on negativity, because we are kind of like, we love to drama. We love to see what's happening there, and that's feeding the media. And then the media like demands this from us or from famous people, and there is actually no way that you live in a way that they'll be like, the media will have nothing wrong to say about you. I think that there is no way. Like, there's so many proofs out there that I feel like there are like some people that are living like the most authentic life that they can, and there is media out there is still like coming up with different stories and the different like, oh, they did this wrong. And I think this is just like a tons of BS that we just shouldn't take put any attention to it. And whatever is your like, your preference or whatever is your desire in life, just express it. Just be who you are. Just live your authentic truth, because nothing sets you free as much as that. And you can say also from the Queen music that he was like, I want to break free, like there was like this huge desire for freedom, but we usually search this freedom everywhere around us. But in reality, what really makes us free is the truth. And when you're embracing the truth, and I mean, first thing is like admitting it to yourself. It's like, that's the first thing. Like, if you are not admitting it to yourself, you'll never be true. And then the second thing is, of course, admitting it to others. And just be sure that people that are meant to be in your life, that people that are really loving you unconditionally, they will love you no matter what. And it's really interesting to see that. And also, I feel like a good thing in the movie is also to see, like, in the end, his whole family, that despite of his father being against Freddie's desires or goals or whatever, they were just supporting it, and they were super proud of him. And that's what always happens. You have to be selfish enough to go on your own track, follow your heart, have courage to just do whatever feels right. Then you will become the greatest contributor out there. That's it. That's the formula. And we can see this in every single one of the greatest inventors or like singers or performer or actors or whatever. And I definitely love that aspect that they put in the movies as well, because you can see that he admitted to his family that he's gay as well, and they were so proud of him, and they were just like loving him for who he is. So that was very interesting to see. And I think that I finally came to the last lesson here, which is that they usually say how you do one thing is how you do everything. And in Freddie, you could clearly see that whenever he was facing a challenge, he was like owning it. And also when he got AIDS, he said that he's not gonna be a victim of it. He's not gonna like allow this illness to take over, and now he's gonna feel sorry for himself. And I really love the quote that he said here, which is, I decide who I am, and I'm going to be what I was born to be. And here he said, a performer who gives the people what they want. Touch of the heavens. And I feel like that's beautiful, and I think it just sums up his journey and his life so well, that he was always stubborn and he always knew in himself who he's meant to be, and he was just going for it. Like, no matter if the producers or the people around you, I mean, when they came out with Bohemian Rhapsody and that producer didn't want to like release it, it was just like, okay, like we're going separate ways. And just to see that he was going in his own direction because he knew that that's what he needed, even when he did the mistake, quotes mistake, it's not really a mistake, when he decided to go separate ways and just try to record albums by himself, it was just necessary for him to come to certain realizations, to like lower the ego and to get grounded again, to feel like, oh yeah, there's certain people that really loves me and I should be around those people. And it just is beautiful. I think that his whole life, or the whole life of a person that is represented in the movie, is just amazing. It's beautiful to see that you know deep within you who you want to be or who you are meant to be, and you just decide that you are that person and you just go all in. And whenever people around you are saying, oh, this is not okay, or this, you should do this or you should that, you have the right to be selfish and to just follow your own path and do whatever feels right for you. And just be sure, like, this is a guarantee that if you are doing that, if you are following your heart, you're gonna be the greatest contributor out there. Like, and I mean with the greatest contributor, it doesn't mean that you're contributing to this world is gonna be recognized as the greatest contributor in this world, but you have to know that majority of contributors we don't even see, and those are the people that are sharing the vibration, sharing the energy of happiness, joy, and peace to this world. And we don't see how they're influencing the world, but they are. Every one of us can feel empowered by those people, even though they are not close to us, but just us knowing that they are doing the work and they are like raising, it means that it also raises us. So I think this is it. This is the main stuff that got to my head regarding the whole movie, the whole lessons that I learned. I bet there's been like tons of more. I definitely didn't go through all the stuff I wrote down here, but I feel like I already totally been beyond the time that I kind of scheduled for this, but that's okay. I think that the most important thing here is to get the perspective that everything that you are watching is your opportunity to grow. It's your opportunity to find the inspiration from it, to see that people that's been walking before you, or not even people that are real characters, just people from the movies, that everything that is coming in the movies, even if it's imagination, it's coming into the brain of someone that is creating this for a reason. And we should like appreciate that reason and appreciate that purpose, and actually put more attention into learning the lessons in that way as well. So I hope the next time you're watching the movie, you will have a bit bigger picture right now. And let me know what you think. Share your comments, share the podcast with other people. And I'll be really happy if you also comment or just send me a message of what is a movie that you would want me to kind of go through and lead you through the lessons, because I have a list of movies that are kind of like my favorite ones, and I'm definitely interested in doing that. But anyway, if there's anything specific that you want me to share with you, I'll be happy to do so. So thank you very much for listening. Make sure you subscribe on my podcast anywhere wherever you are listening to it, and share it with your friends. Comment below, and if you are listening to it, I also challenge you that you take a screenshot and share it in your Instagram stories so that we can see who is listening and we can give you a little shout out. So thank you very much, guys, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.